Who killed Cynthia Michelle Dykes? Cynthia Michelle Dykes was a 17-year-old high school sophomore. She lived in Louisville, Alabama. The population of Louisville is 519 people, according to the 2010 census. I got that information from Wikipedia, by the way. Louisville, Alabama is in Barber County. And Cynthia was going to go on a date. So she worked at the local Burger King in Eufaula, which is, oh my gosh, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 miles away from Louisville. Anyway, so she left work that evening around 9 p.m. And I suppose she was headed home. She was headed in that direction. I think it's Highway 30 that she was on. You'll see the map, so then you'll see what road it was on. But she was only 8 miles from her house, and she had a flat tire. Now, we don't know if somebody tampered with the tire and made it go flat and was waiting on her, or if she actually had the flat tire and somebody just came up on her, some mean person, or we just don't know. Nobody really knows. But anyway, the next morning she was found. She was a little ways from her car, so she wasn't found right next to her car. But she was found, and they think she was dumped there. But she had been beaten and strangled, and it doesn't say whether she had any kind of, if she was like sexually victimized, but it just says that she was beaten and strangled, and she was face down in the sand. A friend of hers, and I can't get any good information as to if it was the boyfriend, the guy that she was fixing to have the date with, or an ex-boyfriend. But anyway, it just says a friend of hers was accused and went to trial, and he was acquitted of it. So there again, I'm not sure. But anyway, some of her family members think that there is another family member that possibly may have had something to do with her murder, because they said that they saw him, the next day I suppose after she was found. They said that he had bruises and that he had scratches down his arm. And I think they said on both arms. But anyway, there is several media sites, and people have their opinions. There's a Facebook page, which is the Alabama Cold Cases. And I'll put all my links at the bottom so you can read yourself. But some people think that family member did it, and I don't know, there's just all sorts of things. But her mother, year after year, and she died on March the 11th, 1987. She was born around 1970. But every year, on March 11th, her mother had to agonize over her death. Every year, her mother had to wonder, who did this? Who did this to my little girl? And come on, people, somebody's got to know something. Somebody has got to have some kind of information as to what's going on. I mean, what happened to her. Somebody's knows something and nobody's talking. But her poor mother died a few years ago of cancer. And I heard that I was watching a YouTube. It's called a Minisode podcast from another family member that was talking about it. It's called the YouTube thing channel is called One Crime at a Time, I believe. But anyway, I found out that her mother had passed away a couple years ago of cancer. She never knew what happened to her daughter. I mean, well, she knew what happened to her daughter, but she never knew who did it. That's a sad thing. And nobody deserves that. Somebody knows something about this poor young lady that died so many years ago. And even though it was in 1987, she still has family that want to know who did this to her. They want some kind of justice. I mean, if that was your daughter or sister or cousin, wouldn't you want to know? No matter how old a case is, the fact is this young lady was murdered. Nothing's going to take that back. And if anybody watches this and if anybody knows anything, no matter how small they think it is, please pass that information on to the police department. I'm going to leave some phone numbers down below of all the area police departments in Barber County. A lot of people were not happy with the way Barber County conducted their investigation, apparently. But, you know, it is what it is. But look at the links. And like I said, Facebook has Alabama cold cases. There's like an obituary, kind of an obituary thing about her on a website called, I think it's Winegrass Angel House or Wiregrass Angel House. And then there's that podcast. Come on, guys. Let's try to find who did this to her. Let's try to give her family some kind of closure. You know, I mean, they have her body. They have a grave for her, but somebody's not accountable for this. Somebody needs to be held accountable, no matter how old these cases are. And these are small town cases. They're not, a lot of this stuff doesn't make the national news because they're from places that have the population in some of these small towns are just like less than 100. Some of them are. I'm going to try to do my shows or my or whatever you want to call it. When I talk about people that are missing or people that are murdered and they can't solve it, I'm going to small town USA. I don't want these big huge cities because those they get televised. People hear about them. People don't hear about small town USA hardly ever. Let's do something about this. Let's let's get this case solved, people. Thank you for listening.